Hi there, Abhik here. In this video, we will be learning drag and drop with Vanilla.js and edit modification after drag and drop, all with Vanilla.js, and also we will be completing the Frontend Mentor Challenge of the Todo app. So you can see that in this Todo app, this is the dark mode and this is the light mode, and you can let me show you the dark mode once again. On hovering on the checkbox, it will have a gradient background. The cross will be only shown only when it is hovered on a particular to do, and you can see on hovering whatever active states for this. And also you can see that the input will have inputs cursor will have a blue color, right? So let's create this. So this is how it will look on mobile. So this is the light mode for mobile. So let's build this. Also, Frontend Mentor provides these starter codes, and as well as they also provide some colors and images, and you can find these images inside this images directory from Frontend Mentor, and also some colors as well. So let me show you the style guide. So this shows the colors for light theme, dark theme, font, and everything we need. So we will be following the mobile first approach, and first of all I will be designing this top image. So I have also created a style.css, and I have also linked it inside this HTML. So I have created this div with class top image, and let's style. First of all we will style some necessary stuff such as margin 0, padding 0, and box sizing will be border box for everything. And background color for body is something I have got from the style guide. So now the top image will have a width of 100% and height will be 225 pixels. Now I have calculated it, and that's why I have given it. You can give it accordingly. So the background size will be covered, and background URL will be the image that we get from the images directory mobile dark. So we are following the mobile first approach, and it looks like this. So now let's create the main. Now inside this main will our entire to-do live, that is this to-do app, the input, the div, and the filters, or everything will be inside this main. Now for the to-do, this is the header, that is this to-do written, and the dark theme, everything will toggle button, one h1 tag with to-do, and also the div class will be toggle button for the toggle button. Okay, so now let's style this. Now the main will have a position of absolute, so that we can place it in on top of these images also, otherwise it won't be. So the top will be 0, and the height will be 100%, 100 vh, and width will be 100%. Also the padding will be 25 pixels, so that you can see that there is a padding between, so we need this padding. And this is only for mobile, and for desktop we will have something else. So dot header, now let's style this header. So for the header class we will have a display of flex, and justify content will be space between, and they will be aligned on both corners. And so the color will be white, as you can see this color is white, and the letter spacing will be 10 pixels, so that we can have spacing between these letters. And padding will top padding is a bit more than that of the main padding, so that's something to consider as well. So that toggle button will have the initially the background URL of the icon sun, and background size will be covered. So also width and height will be 30 pixels. So it looks like this right now. So I will give the fonts and everything else later on in this video. So I will use these CSS variables. However, during recording this video, I have used different variables, but I will finally use these variables. So please take the note these variables. So now we will be creating the type to do, that is the input, and along with the input we will have a circle. As you can see inside the image there is a circle. So also I will type the create an input with type text, and id will be to do input. Now type to do div will have a width of 100%, and background will be var dark. And as I showed earlier, the CSS variables, please use them instead of this variable. So also I will have a margin top of 24 pixel, and padding will be 10 pixel, height will be 55 pixels, and also it will have a display of grid, and also the grid template colors will be 10% auto, and align items will be center. Also the circle will have width of 20 pixel, height will be 20 pixel, border radius will be 50%, and the border will be 1 pixel solid. as well. So the to do input, now let's style the to do input. The to do input will have a background of transparent, width will be 100%, height will also be 100%, font size will be 20 pixels as you can see, and the color will be that dark variable as well, otherwise it will have a white color. And also you can see that the cursor color is blue, so caret color defines the cursor color. Also then on focusing it will have a none outline of none, so you can see that's what it looks like. Also now see the css variables. Now these are not the final variables, the final variables I've shown you. So the light class will set different values to the variables. Now this light class and is needed so that it sets different values to the variables, and we will pass these variables inside this image main, so that when we change theme we have a different values for these variables. And however the we need not specify these values inside these classes, so we can set the variables and these variables will do the rest. So you can get these values from the style guide. And now let's on clicking this toggle button, it will call a function change theme. Now let's create this change theme function. So inside this change theme function we need a one liner, that is the document.body.classlist.toggle light. Now it will toggle the light class. So let's see that in action. So you can see that it's working fine, absolutely fine. So that's how we are going to that's very easy way to change the themes. Now we will also handle the input. So for that we will get the query selector to do input, and to do's will be a array, empty array, and this array will be later used for the array modification on drag and drop explanation. So here we will use this to do dot add event listener key up. So whenever this input has a key press, then it will detect whether this key is entered or not. If this key is entered, then the console.log will log the target.value, that is whatever value is present inside this input right now. So if I write abhik b and press enter, then it will show the abhik b. So instead of console logging, we will push that e.target.value, that is the value inside the input, to the to do's array, and then we will log out this to do's. So let me show you what I'm trying to do right now. And also we will make the value of the input to be blank after I have pushed it. So you can see that whenever I press I write something and press enter, then it will blank out the value of the input, and that's what we have written like, share, subscribe, and it is presenting an array with like, share, subscribe. So it is working. So instead of console logging, we will create a new to do with a new to do function, and there we will pass this e.target.value. So inside the function new to do we have creating, we will create some div text p tag with name to do text, input checkbox for checkbox, and a label for the checkbox styling, and also a span which will have the cross element so that we can use it for deleting. So you can see this checkbox is label is needed for the styling of this checkbox, otherwise it won't happen. So now let's have the to do text content will have this value, and the checkbox input type will be checkbox, and input's name will be also be checkbox, so that we can have a label with HTML4 equal to checkbox, so that this label can work for this checkbox. And this labels add event listener, that is on clicking this label, if the input is checked, then it will do something, otherwise it will do something else. So if input is checked, then it will make it false, in checks value will be false, and style or text style will be nothing, otherwise it will have a strike through. And also we will remove an active class so that there is no background gradient and tick mark. Okay, so if it is not checked, that is if checks value is false initially, that is what we will, then we will make the checks value will be true, and we will have the p tags text decoration will be line through. And also we can see that the there will be a gradient. For that we need to add a class active. And also the to do cross, that is a span, will have a text content of x. We will later on stylize that as well. So add event listener, whenever we click on it, it will remove it, this particular to do. Okay, so it will remove that particular to do for now. And also now let's add some class list to do. To class list to checkbox label will have a class list of circle, and also the cross will have a class list of cross. So these are the classes we will add, and then we will append this checkbox label, to do text and to do cross in a serialized order, in serial order to the to do div. And then we, after appending them, we will append this particular to do to the to do's container. So you can see this, I have also added some variable bg to do. So this bg to do will be necessary later on. So create an empty div with in HTML with class todos, as I was saying, and give it a this inside styling will give it a margin top of 24 pixel, and the to do will have a background of var bg to do, and width will be 100% as well. Height will be 55 pixel. Display will be grid template colors will be 10% auto 10%. So 10% auto and 10% like that. And also the align items will be center. So we will also have a padding of 10 pixel overall, and font size will be 20 pixel. Now the checkbox will have a display of none as well, and active on active class we will have a position of relative, and background image will be linear gradient. So there will be a linear gradient as well. And active, if for before content, that is the pseudo element before, will have a content of the tick mark. Position will be absolute as well, and width and height will be 10 pixels. So also now let me show you how it looks like. So if I write A B C D E F, and then on pressing that, it is working absolutely as desired. So there is a text strike through, the text is having a strike through, and also the checkbox is having that gradient and tick mark as well. Let me show you once again. And also on pressing this cross, it is deleting that as well. So it's working as desired, right? Now let's update this to do app by instead of pushing e.target.value, we will push an object which will have a value property and checked property. Now this checked can be also compared to completed property, and value will have e.target.value and checked will have false. Now inside the click function of the checkbox label, we will have an object which will be the object, the current object, that is we will find the object from the to do's array where the value is equal to the same value, and then we will update the property or checked property of the object whenever this to do checkbox is checkbox label is clicked. So it will be updated to false and true accordingly. And also we will also update. So I have figured out that we should remove this from object declaration from here to top, so that will help us avoid any further issues. Also, so now we will filter the to-dos array to a new array which will does not have the object that on whenever we click the to-do cross, then not only will it remove it from the DOM, we also want to remove that to-dos object. So for that, whenever we press this to-dos button, then it will filter out the array without that object. So let me show you what I'm trying to do here. So you can see that initially I had ABCD and I pressed the cross button. Now I have ABD as desired. That's because we have filtered that array to a new array. So now we will create the div with remarks class, and it is this class, that is this 5 items left, clear, completed, and this filters down below. So for that we need a remarks class, and inside this class we will have a div class completed count, which will be having this 5 items left and such, and there will be another div which will have a clear completed, which will call clear completed function, and also inside there will be a filters div. And why I am putting it inside is just because whenever it will be inside desktop, then there will be it will be inside this remarks class, as you can see here. So for that we need it inside, and I will have this div with all active and completed also. So now let's stylize this. So the dot remarks will have the position of relative, background will be var bg to do, and height will be 55 pixel, and display will be flex, justify content will be space between, and align items will be center. So you can see that there is a space between them. So the dot remarks div will have some padding of 0 and 10 pixels, 10 pixels for left and right, and also filters will have this same var to do, I mean bg to do, and height will be 55 pixel, position will be absolute, and bottom will be minus 70 pixels, so that it is space it is down below. So width will be 100% and display will be flex. So now we will call get the completed count div by the query selector, and we will call this make a function count completed, which will set the completed count div's text content to the or number of objects which are unchecked right now. So we will use the text formatting, and we will filter out the to-dos array for those objects which are unchecked, and then we will find the length of that array, and then we will set that to the text content along with items left. So this is basic in JavaScript string formatting. So you can see that. Now let's call this completed count whenever we are inputting an array, I mean whenever we are creating a new to do function, and then whenever we are updating the checkbox label, that is whether it is completed or not completed, checked or not checked, and then whenever we are deleting it. So let me show it in action. So A, B, C, D, E, F, I have created 6 to-dos, and there it is written 6 items left. Now whenever I am pressing the checkbox, you can see there is 5 items left, 4 items left as such, and let me delete and show you. So if I delete, it's writing 3 items left. So that's working. Now let me filter them out, or let me create those filter functions as well as clear completed. So for them I have created show all, filter completed, filter active, and clear completed. So for filter active, we will do we will select all those to do items by document.query selector all. So for all to do items, we will loop out then for each, using for each. So for all to do items, those to do items which are having this input box checked, I mean checked will be true, then for those we will have a display of none, that is those will be not displayed. Others which are not having the checkbox as checked will be displayed. That's for filter active. And for filter completed, we will display all those whose items are checked, I mean whose to do dot input I mean all those whose items are not checked, those will be display, those will have a display of none, those will not be displayed. And for show all, we will give all to dos with a display of grid, so it doesn't matter whether their input boxes are checked or not, they will have a display of grid. As well as for clear completed, we will select all those to do items, and for those to do items whose input values are checked, I mean checkbox inputs are true, those will be removed. So to do dot remove will do that as well. So let me show you once again. So let me refresh that, and then A, B, C. So I have inputted this A, B, and C, and also I have inputted D. So now if I check B, and then let me show you active. So for active, it will show A, C, and D, and for completed, it should show only B, and it's showing only B. And let me show you the all, and also let me select C also. Let me check C, and let's clear completed. So if when I press clear completed, it has cleared out A and D. So you can see that there is no completed one. Now let me add B and C once again. So I have added B and C. Now let me show you one more thing, that is if I press B and then I check active, I mean completed, then it will show B. However, if I check active, though there are 4 items left, there is nothing is shown. Only on pressing all they will be shown. And now if I press active, it is shown. However, after pressing completed, if I press active, it is not showing. So why is that? And also vice versa, when I press active and then completed, it is not showing. So why is that? That's because we are, after pressing it active is active, then we are I mean making display of none to all those which are already checked. Now we need to remove that display none, otherwise those will be display none will be kept permanently, and those will not be shown whenever we press completed. So for that, we need to give the to-do.style.display grid to also for every to do item first, and then we need to filter them accordingly for with if loop, and then give a display of none. So A, B, C, and now it should work fine. So you can see active is here, completed is working, so it's working now fine. So now we will add class filter active to the first div of filters divs, and then we will also for every filter function, show all, filter completed, filter active, we will programmatically add a filter active class and remove filter active class. So for the first function, show all, the document.query selector all dot filters div. So we will loop through all the divs, and if the divs index matches with the index of the current function, then we will add filter active class, otherwise we will remove the filter active class. So for the first function, the index will be 0. that is, if you see here, you can see that at 0 position all is present, so and all calls the show all function. So we will add the filter active class, and for the other classes we will remove the filter active class. And filter completed is in the index is 2, that is, you can see at the second position, I mean 0 1 2, for the third position 2 position, it is index is it's having the filter completed, and for the index equal to 1, active is having filter active. So accordingly I have designed, and filter active classes will be have a color of HSL 220. You can get it from a style guide. And now we will use the desktop design. We will actually stylize the desktop design. So for that we will have a media query of mean width 800 pixel, and then we will, for header, type to do's and remarks, all will have a width of 60%, and you can see that those are centered, so we will give margin left and right of auto. And for the filters div, we will you can see that that is in the bottom in the mobile, and inside the remarks div inside in the desktop. So for that we will have top 0 and bottom 0, and left will be 50%, transform translate will be translate x will be minus 50%, so that it is centered. And you can see the other CSS where I have some minor adjustments, so you can see those as well. So now let me show you how responsive it is. So when I stretch it, and you can see it's responsive, and let me close, and you can see now it's responsive. And for LG Optimus, which is a mobile, it's showing like this, and for laptop with HTTP, let me show you for iPad Pro, it's showing like that. So it's working fine. For iPhone X, there's again in the responsive view, and for laptop with HDPI screen, it's very responsive now. And also the dark theme is working fine. And on hovering, this X buttons are shown, so it's working fine. Also now I have added this font family, which you can get from the from in the description, and also added this font family in the body. So it's working, it's looking very cool. Now comes the very interesting part, that is dragging. So let's make our to-do draggable equal to true, and we will add event listener for drag start. We are writing inside the drag start, we will have e.data transfer equal to effect allowed equal to move, and e.data transfer dot set data text plain null. Now lm equal to e.target. Now I have created var lm equal to null, and function is before is something I will explain you later on. So now that's it for drag start. And also I will console.doc, that's for debugging purposes, you don't need to do that. Now to do dot add event listener drag over will also have a event function, arrow function, which will have late el1, and I will use that later on. And e dot prevent default, that is very necessary. So if is before lm and el1, so lm is before el1, that is that to do which is dragging, we are dragging is before the to do that is dragged over, then we will have below the to do which is dragged over, then we will add the to do that is we are dragging before the to do that is dragged over. Otherwise we will add the to do that is we are dragging to the to do to do that is dragged towards next sibling, that is let me have a pictorial representation for that. So if is before returns true, that means we are dragging the green, that is dragged lm, we are dragging this green box above, above its original position. So wherever we are dragging it, if it satisfies the el1 conditions, the dragged over element is the el1, then it will append this green one before the l1 tag. Okay, and otherwise if the is before returns true, false, then this green one will be dragged, that means the green one is dragged down its original position. So in that case it will be the green one will be inserted below the gray one and before the blue one. So this blue one if exists, then before the blue one, otherwise it will be the last child, obviously. So that's what we are trying to do in the that's what this is before returning will help us. So in the is before function, what it does is it takes two parameters L1 and L2, and first of all it sets the value of var car equal to el1 dot previous sibling. Then it runs a loop, for loop, and it checks whether the car actually exists and its node type is not equal to none, and 9, that is either the document node, that is HTML, or body. So if there it is not either body or HTML document, then it will set the car's value to the previous sibling, and every time the for loop is run, the value is changed, it will check until and unless the car's value triple equals to el2, that is the previous sibling of the car is equal to the el2, and until and unless it satisfies, it will run the loop. And when it runs out of the loop, I mean the condition is satisfied, that is node type is none, is equal to 9, or it's actually body or HTML document, then it will return false. Otherwise, if the condition is satisfied, that is if car value is equal to the, I mean if car is equal to the el2, that is the past, then it will return true. So what it actually means is whether it is going up or it is going down. So if the element that we are dragging, if the element that is dragged over is above above the element that is dragging, then it will set the value to true, that is we are dragging it upward. Otherwise it will set the value to down, that is false, that is it means that it is actually dragging downwards, not upwards. So that's what it is before is doing. So now for the drag end function, we will actually set lm equal to null. So after the dragging is done, we will set lm to null. And now I will come to array splicing. So for that, we need to get the index of the current object that this to-do div is associated with. So we get that by getting the index of that object, and then we will delete that object from the to-dos. Then what we need to do is we need to get the if we check if this to-do div has a next sibling. If that's the case, then we should insert this object object with which this to-do div is associated with before the object with which the to-do's next sibling is associated with. So for that we need to get the index of the to-do's next sibling, and for that we need to get the query selector p. I mean the to-do dot next sibling has a query selector p, I mean p tag, which has a text content. So we need to get that value of the to-do dot next sibling, and if it matches with any object, then it will return the index of that object. And then we will actually use the splice method to insert our present to-do object before the to-do next siblings object. So for that we will create an object with which the value will be the value and checked will be the to-do dot query selector inputs checked value, whether it is true or false. Otherwise it will actually push the so that means if there is no next sibling, that means it is the end of the to-dos array. So for that we need to push to the to-dos array the value and the checked whether it is true or false. So now we have a, b and c. So now let's drag it. So if I drag a, c, b, it's now, so it should output an array of a, c, b, and it's outputting a, c and b. So now let's check c and let's move it upwards, and then check, we should see c, a, b, and c's values is true. Now let's take b, and I moved to c, b, and I've checked it and unchecked c. So now it should come, or I have moved b to above, so it should come b, c and a. So let's see, and it's coming b, c and a with b and c true. So we need to fix the c's value also. So I will be using an update to do's function, which I will call on whenever the checkbox is pressed, whether it is true or false accordingly, and it will call this update to do's function, and inside this update to do's function we will loop through the to do's array, and if that object matches with the value, then we will set the checked value of that object to the bool passed. So this is the final code, and I have moved the new to do function and is before function to a new file, that is a new to do.js that I have created here I have passed them. So I will get into that later on. First of all, see this one, this script, whatever the codes are remaining. So let's see this final code. So this is count completed, change theme, update to dos, clear completed. This is show all, and this is filter completed. Then this is filter active. So once again, let me show you. So this is the new todo.js function class, file where I have the new todo function, and here I am calling update todos with value false and value true, and this is the same update todo, this same update todos function, if you remember. Then we are adding event listener for todo cross click. Then we are adding class lists. Then we are appending children to the todo div. Then we are making our todo draggable, and this is for the drag start event. Then for drag over event, whatever we are doing, and for the drag end event, array splicing, and then we are appending the todo div to the todos container. Now here comes the is before function. Now I would like to thank David F for his answer in Stack Overflow, which helped me in making this draggable and drag and drop event very easily. And have a look at his answer in Stack Overflow. So on hovering, let's make a gradient circle for this todo divs checkbox label. So for that, but before that, let me have something for active circle before pseudo element. I will have something like z index will be a big amount, and then I will also have some background to be transparent. And why I am needing this background to be transparent, you will understand when you do it yourself. And transform scale will be 0.5, and we will have this check svg, which is provided in the images directory, and also background size will be covered. So now let's create the circle before pseudo element. That is for needed because, and we will give it a position of absolute, and content will be blank, and top will be 51% and left will be 50%. Transform translate will be -50% for centering it, and width and height will be 95%, so that this blank background blank circle inside this gradient circle is that circle before pseudo element. And circle right now have a background instead of a border, and also circle before has a background var bg to do and border radius of 50%. And whenever we hover on a to do, the circle's background image will be changed to a linear gradient. So that's will do the trick. I mean, that will do the trick. And this is the final code for HTML, and you can see that. So I have also added a footer with small size class and class footer, and also I have added small size class to the clear completed div, and also to the completed count div. And let me show you the CSS, final CSS. So here it is, and notice the variables. Now these are the final variables, and also I have added some minor adjustments here and there, so please have a look. You may feel free to pause and take a note on all this CSS. I've also given a cursor grab to do P, and to do P on hovering will have a font weight of bold, and cursor pointer for various other to do elements and other elements also. And also on hovering, some other elements will also have a hover on font size will be bold. And footer is given a opacity of 0, and small size is giving a footer font size of 13 pixel and color of HSL. And also this is the media queries, and notice I have added body and .light class also. So thank you guys for watching this video, and those who have already subscribed to my channel, thank you for supporting me. Thank you very much.